From anatomy to anesthesiology, from pathology to pharmacology, from microbiology to medicine, a one-man resource to the world of health sciences. Welcome to Dr. Paul's Medical Lectures. A practicing physician, Dr. Paul offers you essential insights on diseases afflicting millions of people around the world. For today's lecture, here is Dr. Paul. Thanks.
Conline purpura, basically abbreviated as HSP. So let's talk about Henoch conline purpura this morning. It's also known as anaphylactic purpura. Basically, it is a systemic vasculitis syndrome, and it is characterized by palpable purpura, most commonly distributed over buttocks and lower extremities. And they also have arthralgias, the joint pains, and gastrointestinal signs and symptoms, and glomerulonephritis. So it's basically a small vessel vasculitis. It's a small vessel vasculitis. That's an important point. The disease is characterized by circulating tissue, immunoglobulin A, immune complexes, and it is ANCA negative. It's ANCA negative. That's an important point. So HSP is most commonly seen in children, and most of the patients, they range between 4 and 7 years of age. But however, even infants like younger than 4 years old or older patients or even adults are affected by this disease, even though it is rare in those groups. Now, let us talk about the basic incidence. The male to female ratio is like 1.5:1, and there is also seasonal variation with peak incidence in spring. So many patients come in spring. The diagnosis of HSP it's basically rests on the presence of typical maculopapular rash. So maculopapular rash mostly on the dorsal surface of the lower extremities and buttocks. That's a very important clue. So maculopapular rash on buttocks, think of HSP. So it's a maculopapular rash present primarily, not exclusively, on the lower extremities and buttocks. And most children have abdominal pain and bloody diarrhea and joint pains depending on the extent of renal involvements. You see, some of these patients are affected by the kidney disease and they develop hypertension. And so renal involvement happens. It could be from mild glomerulonephritis to hematuria or extensive glomerulonephritis. So glomerulonephritis, it can present with renal insufficiency and hematuria, proteinuria. So you see the wide range of organic involvement in this disease. Now let us talk about pathology. What basically happens in this disease? Basically, what is happening in this disease is immune complex deposition. That's one word you need to remember. Immune complex deposition. And patients will have this problem because of any number of inciting agents. They can develop this through drugs and foods and insect bites or vaccines. So they could be inciting, and IgA starts to deposit in these immune complexes. That's why in half of the patients IgA levels are elevated in HSP. If you take a renal biopsy, you will see the immune complex depositions. So that's about pathogenesis. What about the clinical manifestations? As I said, palpable purpura in virtually all patients will have.